Hello team, and welcome back to another episode of The Two Fat Brokers. We have some guests today. We'll start with the introductions. I'm Barney from Dubai.
Ben from Abu Dhabi.
I'm Mark from the network in Dubai.
Mario Costa as well from Dubai.
All right, so today we've all been in a situation where we've had to set up and run real estate companies. So we thought would be a nice way for us to get into the topic, invite these guys on and really sort of get down to the nitty gritty of what it's like setting up, how easy it is to set up, and how easy is it to run and manage your staff in a real estate setting.
Because Mark and Mario have set up their own companies relatively recently. When you set yours up?
Yeah, so we took a slightly different approach. We actually acquired another business. That was
so you can sell real estate companies. I thought that was
so.
an impossibility.
Well, I bought one, so
I'd be interested to know how you value a real estate company, but we can get to that.
no, it's a more complex thing, but I think a very.
Is it one of these?
I think the seller's valuations often are that, but that's no different to selling a house. I don't think. I think the seller's valuations are always a bit wild anyway. Aren't
Yeah.
But there we go.
And so you bought a company and then what? Renamed it, rebranded it?
Rebranded it. We bought a business that I think that the big challenges that I saw coming up, setting up from scratch, was office, finding one. In Dubai, that is very difficult. Commercial space is not easy to find.
With parking.
With parking. Nobody really wants. A lot of buildings in Dubai now are saying we are not taking any more real estate agencies.
Oh, really?
So
Is that true?
That's a thing, including the building we're in, will not take any more real estate agencies because we come with lots of people. They would rather a tech company that takes 10,000 square feet and has 4 people, which doesn't work for a professionally operated real estate brokerage. So we sort of evaluated a few different things. If we could go in with something that is already operational, very, very important were 2 things for me. One, I didn't want to run around doing viewings on offices. I didn't want to be wasting months of trying to do business, setting up a trade license, a bank account, a property finder account, all of the different things. And then being in a position where day one I could start talking to people. You know, predominantly what I've done is run real estate teams and real estate companies for other people.
Very successfully.
Thank you very much. And off the back of that, I wanted to be in a position where I could almost do the same as I'd done at other businesses. And what I kind of have been, I guess, reasonably successful at doing is going into something that is slightly broken or needs improving or upskilling.
I'm sure your previous employers are going to love to hear you say that. I agree with you 100%, but I'm not so sure the others will.
Okay. So Mark, you're a bit different then, because a lot of people who are in your position have been brokers, successful brokers, and they go like, well, I'm a successful broker. I don't want to split commission anymore with my company. And I know how it works. I'm going to set up my own company.
Yeah.
But you're coming from a background more of managing teams as opposed to brokering yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, look, me and Barney both met in what would have been 2008.
2008, yeah.
2008. And we both worked as brokers. I've done brokerage. I'm coming from a position, I guess, of knowledge in both sides. I just decided, you know, probably 10 or 11 years ago that my route was going to be, for the next period, was going to be me running teams and operating rather than carrying on brokering. And that was, you know, a few different things: impact on the market, lifestyle choices with families, and just the future of where I felt I could add more value. I've always enjoyed training, education, things like that. So that just, and I always get, I'm a salesperson by trade, I guess, but ultimately I've enjoyed selling. I've also really enjoyed helping other people have the success. And I think looking back on what would have been a very similar entry into the market for us at that point, you know, education, support, technology was very limited on
There was none.
You know, it was kind of go. And I think
Literally, the company that we worked for,
now.
they sat you down and went, that's the Excel spreadsheet where you get all the information from, which was updated by the girls on the front desk, and sell.
There was no CRM. It was,
No.
Yeah, even down to the small things, which are now big things. The basis of real estate is the same. You know, build relationships, advertise properties for sale or rent.
What was the
generate
biggest
leads.
hurdle that you found in terms of buying this company and then rebranding it, and what was the biggest hurdle?
I think the easiest decision we made was that the runway and the speed we could operate at made a load of sense buying versus setting up. I think I didn't appreciate how difficult it would be to go through some of the transition elements, how difficult it is to change all the paperwork. Paperwork is painful. But I also don't know that it would have been a whole load easier starting from scratch. I'm not the most creative guy in the world, so I didn't want to really sit doing office designs and logo designs and branding and things like that. What I did know that I'd done for other people successfully was transform a business into something more successful, broken or not broken.
How many agents did it have when you took it over?
Yeah, so when we took it over, it had around 20 agents and about 10 in operations. The analysis that I did was how well the operations were performing, because that in its own right is really
a lot
difficult.
of operations for 20 brokers.
So yeah, and it was set up to be roughly a 50-person office with roughly 40 brokers and 10 ops. That 10 ops was ready to really operate 40 people in a team, which was very similar to what I'd done in other places. So the sort of
I think one admin to 4 brokers.
One
is fair.
Well, I guess when I say operations, we're talking accounts, photography, HR,
drivers.
So we had two in admin.
10 could manage 40 brokers
as an operations
easily.
Team. As an operations team.
I mean, not easily.
Yeah.
Very few companies would be set up in that way. In Abu Dhabi, you almost have pretty much one call center agent per broker.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I would say that there's probably a lot of different ways to do the same thing. One thing that we're very heavily focused on is making sure that we've got more management per broker. So something that I've been tasked with doing in most of the bigger organizations and operations has been, we want to scale, we want to grow. You are the sales manager, sales director. We need you to get to 40 people. Now, any management book that you read or leadership book says, in terms of direct reports, that's pretty aggressive. How do you successfully have a team of 35 people and on board, which is the typical route, another 5 or 10 out of the UK, let's say, who have no idea what they're doing in the Dubai real estate market, onboard them and successfully support all parts? What's a good use of your time at that point? The new young guys that have come out of the UK hungry, which was probably, me and Barney in 2008. Yeah, I've got somebody in the middle of a deal that's, potentially on fire at the moment that needs somebody to help and get that across the line and more revenue driven. So we've restructured what we believe is a more sensible approach, which is, we're around 40 brokers at the moment, and we've got 5 sales managers. 5 sales managers that are still boots on the ground, and there's a lot of arguments and discussions around whether should a manager still be brokering, should they be solely brokering.
It's a conversation we've had a few times, is do real estate agents make good managers? Typically not.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're lucky enough to strike gold and find one who is, great. But
and
it's
I
difficult.
think a massive flaw in the way that the market operates at the moment is that you've got so much of a business weighted on an individual. If you've got a sales director with a team of 40 people, what if they leave? How much does that disrupt or derail your business? Because predominantly a team is built around the manager.
You'd have to ask yourself that, Mark.
I don't know.
You've had a few
left.
big teams,
Yeah.
and you foxtrot Oscar twice.
The truth is, that if you build a good team, the team will be bought into the manager, regardless of what company you're in or people's actions around exits. The bottom line is, if you've got a good team to sell them on, you've had loads of success with this individual, now we're just going to sidestep you somewhere else and you're going to have the same success. It's hard work recruiting. It's not easy. And a lot of the recruitment in the Dubai real estate market is based around, are they bought into an individual?
Well, I mean, the recruitment around Dubai real estate is, do they have a pulse? Can they dial a telephone? And how long do we give them before we fire them if they haven't made a deal? Like, it's free labour. That's the deal. With all of these big companies, and I won't name them, but there's companies with 400, 500, 600 brokers, and they literally ship in plane loads of brokers, give them a phone, give them a seat, and go, call, do business. And if you don't do business, you're gone within 3 months. And then they just get booted, and what happens to them after that, who knows? That's the recruitment process.
That will change. It will.
I'm
have to
sure it will,
change.
but that's the way it is now.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, what do you think about recruitment then, Mario?
Tell us a bit about your origin story,
that's,
Mario.
That's why I opened my own real estate company. I never wanted normally opening my own real estate company because I guess I was one of the less broker who know that if I open my own real estate company, I will make much more less money than being a broker. But the structuring in the Dubai real estate market, how the real estate companies was operating and working was not my vision, how I'm leading and how I'm working. So I'm coming as well from the real estate third generation. And I came here to Dubai and I saw the philosophy of the brokerage, what I was working before, is not that way how I want to lead. So
How was
their
it?
philosophy?
starting from calling cold calls, old databases, 3 years old, 4 years old, it's waste of time. You can be the best sales agent to recover and getting from investors 300 calls per day. You cannot convince them. So there have to be a different type of structure. And it took me 7 years with my partners now to point all that mistakes and creating our real estate company who we are. So we are still a baby, it's a startup. We are now 12 months on the market, but we are not calling us as a real estate company. I call me as a prop tech company. I think I created the first platform existing for Europeans or for Germans in the Dubai real estate market, because I was seeing me more into the investor perspective. So from a German investor or someone who want to move to Dubai, there was no real sources about Dubai, from starting education, school, family-friendly areas, where are master communities, which villa communities are near, for example, to a Swiss school, to a German school, to a British curriculum school. There was no real data and sources to find such things. So I said, that's crazy. It's impossible that someone have to enter like this into the market. And then we started to do, let's say, our own Wikipedia, but before coming to them was as well for me not acceptable, if we talk about off-plan, that the sales way is so long. So it means an investor is requesting me for a off-plan property and I have to text to the sales manager, and the sales manager have to talk to the CRM, and CRM coming back to the sales manager to me to the investor, till then the property is sold. So why? And every day gets spammed from that availability list. So that we said, no, we will put our CRM system and we put an API to the CRM system of the other developer. And this is what we did. We are already online.
What's an API?
It's like the connection between our CRM system with the CRM system of the developer.
Okay.
So we will be live. So there is no availability anymore, no requests, no spams. They can go on the Dubai View platform. They go to the developer, they click on the projects, they see the availabilities, they see which floor it's available, which type of layout is it, what is the price, and we are connecting as well the payment link from the developer on our website. So that means from starting expression of interest, new launches, the people will be much more faster putting the EOI on Dubai View than texting any sales or real estate agent. Second of all, the developer or the investor don't have to get bothered, because there are many investors, they don't want to get spammed from realtors.
Yeah, once their
So
numbers in the market, then they've got an issue. Right?
So they want to get self-educated. They can do it on that website. We don't have to communicate that much with the developers, because we're doing that what we have to do, finding properties and selling properties. And if we sold the property, we just send the unit number, say book that unit, or we're booking it by ourselves. So we try to make the sales way so fast as possible. We put a developer guide in, so there's all the developers listed to educate the investor which developers are on the market, since when they're on the market, which projects and how many projects they did. There's as well the lifestyle guide. So for every expat who want to move out, what are family-friendly areas, which master communities we have, with villa communities we
How
have.
long did it take you to do all of this? 5 years.
A couple of long weekends.
Yeah, was hard. We are still not yet done, because now
You're live.
We are live.
Tell everyone
but
what it's called again, just so we know.
DubaiView.com.
Dubai View, and it's
Yes.
German
It's
language.
German now. That's why we didn't want it to
I'm
put...
going to open the English one quite soon.
Yeah, we
Just
didn't
now
want
I know how it works.
we didn't want it to put just a click on translation. We're looking on SEO, so that's why we're translating it as well manually, not GBT shit. Everything will be manually to get SEO ranked very high. We put as well more than 1,800 landing pages behind that website, so it was a lot of work behind that. To be, let's say, a stock market for real estate with live availabilities, daily based, online, offline, and all the sources what an investor or an expert have to get before investing or moving to Dubai.
That is a big capital injection.
Yes.
So why do you now have 12 people working for you if everything's going to be automated?
Exactly that. I don't need that much. I was talking with a lot of big realtors.
I hope none of your
bad
employees
news
are
for your
watching
team.
this.
That's fact. Talking about the big
Vi must call now.
talking about our structure, I will come there. Before I have 800 agents and I have 200 sharks and the other 600 are just costing me money. In the end of the day, the amount of money end of the month is the same if you have 20 strong people. So, and what we did is, as well from our sources, how we are creating leads and getting them, we have a full automatically process. It means we are asking questions on the leads who is creating their own search profile. So their own search profile is coming into our CRM system. That's why we have the live availabilities. Automatically, the investor is just getting the matched properties regarding to a search profile. If he's watching or searching a one-bedroom apartment for 250 grand in that area, he's just getting that what he's requesting and not something in Arjan or somewhere else. And that get lead tracked as well. It means in the same time who he's opening the brochure, the setter from us is getting a push notification by SMS that he's reading the brochure, and that same time he get the call. Then it's getting set to a Zoom call, so our agents are just getting set Zoom call appointments. He don't have to create from a lead to a buyer. We give
You'll
them
need more and more agents as your website takes off there, right?
Absolutely.
See, this is perfect entrepreneurialism, right? This is one of those things where in all of these opportunities you have to listen to people who are great entrepreneurs. It's always see a need, fill a need, right? Find an area where you can do something much better and then execute it properly.
Yes.
I don't know whether you've executed yours properly. I'm assuming you have, like knowing what I know about you. I'm very impressed. I remember when you and I met at L's Golf Club,
Yes.
nearly a year ago, right?
Yeah.
6-8 months ago. And you told me all about this. I was like, that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. So I'm really impressed. Well done.
Thank you.
Very
Using
cool.
any AI?
We are working on our own AI.
Build your own.
Calm
we
down,
build our
Mario.
own, yeah, we are building our own AI. Yeah, we have a strong marketing and IT team in-house. We are not just in Dubai. We have the biggest real estate company in Germany. Or my partners.
that's gotta be quite
We killed. I can say we killed Van Poel. We killed Engel and Volkers in the days who they kicked out the agents. We start scaling. Or I guess we make 200 trustee office appointments per month there in Germany with the same system. And yes, we are happy now to do the same in Dubai, just bigger. And hopefully Bayut and Property Finder will come soon and say, I don't like what you're doing, and I can make a nice exit.
So there's a strategy.
Yeah, fair enough. And what was the hardest thing you had? I mean, obviously you were operating a real estate company before you even had the notion of doing this website, right? This whole platform was a thought that you had 3 or 4 years ago. Before that, you were a real estate agent with a real estate company.
Yes.
And what made you, I mean, obviously you're third generation real estate broker.
Yeah.
You were in Germany with your father and your grandfather. Yes. And then you moved to the UAE.
Exactly.
And you decided to become a broker here. When did you decide to set up your own real estate company?
It was 4 years ago. Yeah, but I was waiting for the right people, partners who have the same vision like me, because alone you cannot do it. And then it got matched. I had a roadshow in Germany. It was
so your partners paid your setup costs?
No. So I have my partners. They are in Germany and in Spain based. And they have the knowledge into the IT and marketing because they did the same vision what I had already in Germany and in Spain. And then we said, okay, let's partner up in Dubai. I will take care of the agents. I will manage everything. And you are watching the technical part. And this is how we set up our company, Dubai View. And yes, now 1 year online, 1 year into the market.
But you set up your real estate company
Yes.
4 years ago.
No. But the plan was 4 years ago. Now having my own real estate company, it's just 12 months.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've been brokering in Dubai, but you set up your company 1 year
exactly.
ago.
Yeah.
And how have you recruited?
Doesn't need anyone.
There's heads on the chopping block right now.
It was a funny part. 3 of my agents I got because they was calling my investors all the time and was bothering them to get the units. And then I called them and I said, listen, guys, 3 times they shared my number to you guys and still you are trying it. Let's have a meeting. Because I like that they was hungry. They wanted to hunt. They wanted to get units. And I saw they are motivated. And then I had a meeting with them and I like the philosophy, how they're working, but I saw they're just in the wrong company and they're not getting what they deserve. And then this was the first 3 realtors who started with
What did
me.
they deserve that they weren't getting?
Good leads, high qualified leads, and doing that what they have to do, buying and selling and purchase or bringing properties to Dubai View.
So your pitch to them was, come to me and I'll give you high quality qualified leads.
Yes.
Using what platform? Because you didn't have Dubai views yet.
Yeah, we created normally leads. I don't know what this marketer is doing, but there's not even one lead who's saying, I didn't register, I'm not interested, and such things what I experienced the last
you get
8
that a lot.
and 9 years. And yes, I promised them high qualified leads. Already we had the CRM system and the PropStack CRM system in the position to send everything full automatically. And they liked that vision. They saw what we are currently doing and they saw that they could be part of that company in the start and in the beginning. And they joined me. And then it was more mouse propaganda that people saw on social media what we are doing. People was talking about that. And then unfortunately, one very big real estate company, the CEO is not more here in the country without saying any name. They got blacklisted. They had very strong agents who joined me now as well. They're working now with me. And this was...
When was this?
It
Just
was,
to give me an idea of which company we're
I
talking
guess
about.
1 month ago, 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yes,
I don't know about that
they
company.
are not more allowed to sell Meras and MR. More, I don't want to say it. And
Really?
yes, and the CEO
What was this
is not more
company
in the
accused
country.
of doing without telling us who they were?
Too many cash deals. Yes, too many cash deals.
Well, that's good that they was seen and that they were given the right treatment.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing. I've not heard about that.
yeah. No, it was.
And
big.
so you took their top.
And I took
5 brokers?
the top 5 brokers, and this is how I'm doing it step by step. I just wait for the good people. I don't make any advertisement. I'm searching now a broker minimum 2 years experience. It's more about
How
mouse
did you
propaganda.
find out if these brokers were some of the brokers that were doing the cash deals or not?
I even don't have to find out because our AML and how we are working and our system.
No,
is
from this
very
company
strict.
that was blacklisted, you've taken, let's say, their 5 top brokers.
Yes.
There would be an argument that those guys may or may not have been the ones doing
No,
the
because
cash deals.
I hear the story how it was, and it was more than from the leaders who purchased half buildings cash to sell the inventory, and it was less the brokers than
the management.
yes.
Okay.
And this company's now still operational?
Extinct.
Or it's just
He's
The
saying
company
can't,
is still
can't work with Meras and
no,
Ema.
they are
Can you
still
buy another
operational.
company? It's pretty cheap.
I'm a investor as well. I'm
Sharks
open to a deal.
No, they're still operational. Yes.
Okay.
Here's a question I've got for you. When you bought your company, and you may or may not have thought about this, I know how detail orientated you are, so I'm sure you have, but you'll be able to see by his face when I ask him the question if he has. What indemnity do you have against your previous owners for the transactions that your company did prior to you buying it?
So there's a couple of things that we did. One
Damn,
was...
he's done it. I thought I had you there.
No. There's a couple of things that we did.
Barney.
One was we had an audit done from a KYC perspective,
Okay.
which would backtrack, knowing that these people are exceptional at what they do, even down to we had a deadline on, I can't remember exactly when it was, but there was an end of business before, I think it was a weekend. We'd agreed terms on the MOU to sign and transfer and complete on this day. And we were down to the last 15 minutes, and this company had, I think, 35 members of staff working on the files. And they said to us, there are buyers from countries that we need to do further checks on before you pull the trigger on this.
Okay.
And our advice right now would be to delay. And if we don't have this answer, don't buy it. Wait for us. And they called me back an hour and a half later. We had the whichever ministry it is online waiting on a Zoom. We delayed a Zoom. I think we ended up doing the transfer at like 9 p.m. And that was one of the things that we did. So again, exactly, have they
because for people that are watching that don't know that in 2018 the federal government introduced, or the Dubai Land Department introduced some much more stringent checks on your AML and your KYC, and a lot of companies didn't necessarily adhere to it as quickly as they should have. And
I still think there's a lot not doing it. A lot.
I do too. In fact, I know that some people are just crossing their fingers. We were audited, and we thankfully had our documentation going back a long way. We were still light on some of the information that we were supposed to have, and we were obviously amended that. But for you to then buy a company where you could potentially have been.
Yeah, the risk and liability could be
huge. I mean, the risks are up to a 50 million dirham fine.
Yeah,
if you've
50
been
million.
50 million, yeah.
Seems a bit of a wild
Well, it's
figure.
5 million. The worst ones are 5 million per case, right? And if you've got...
And jail,
yeah. And those cases, that could be 5 million dirhams per sale, right? If you've not done your KYC and your due diligence properly, and, that adds up.
Yeah, and then second to that, there was not all of the payment is made up front. So it's delayed based on the information that we're provided, and some of that information you can only actually realise when you're in the business doing. There's only so far you can do on checks until you're in there, and pipelines of business that are outstanding. Are we buying the going concern with the business that already exists in the book? And what if that doesn't come in? What does that look like in
the
terms
transactions going down. Okay.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things in there, but ultimately it came down to having the right. The right support. We bought through a business broker, who understood a lot of the...
What commission did he get? Just out of interest.
They charged us 5%.
Okay.
5%. So that is more of a Wild West than how we used to do transfers in 2007 and 8.
You're joking.
No. I'm surprised at how unregulated. There's no real process to it.
So how does it work? Talk us through it. Let's say I want to come to Dubai and I want to buy a business, and I speak to a business broker. What happens?
Yeah, I think you need, like with going into the world of finding a real estate broker, there is a hell of a lot less regulation on that than I can see. I would suggest find the right person with the right credentials and the right background.
What's the right background?
Well, have they done business transactions before?
So I'm assuming the guy that you used hadn't?
Had.
Okay. So he was good.
Yeah, he was.
But you'd kissed a lot of toads before you found your prince?
No, I think actually we were in an interesting spot where, I resigned from my role, and I think I'd gone for, it was time to take a little break out of the market, work out what my next steps were. Was that to set up? Was that to... join another organisation with a vision and something that made sense for me.
With a crappy sales unit that you could make better.
Do you know what? We joke about it, but people have got strengths in business and in different areas. That's something I've performed well at. So if I go into a well-oiled machine,
we're not saying you're not good. We're just teasing you about what you're saying. That's all.
If we go through that process, I don't know how excited I am about starting from scratch, but I've got a proven track record in doing that. So it turned out when we went through it, I started looking throughout the summer. I was like, does it exist? Does it exist with a sensible valuation and price point? And we've done the wrong way of what it was going to look like to get a trade license, to get, find an office, to do a fit out. Could we find one that's already fitted out, ready for being a real estate brokerage? Could we find an office that's from a failed real estate brokerage that's already ready to go? All of the different costs. And for us, this just made a load of sense, more around time lost. Because even if you set up, it's like how quickly can you get to the point that you want to... I've never set up a real estate brokerage before from scratch. So that's an unknown for me.
I haven't either, and I've had 3 of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you do that then? If you
I
hadn't set
bought
up?
a company called Britannica.
There we go.
From the owners 14 years ago. I did no checks on any of the transactions that they did, but there was no AML, no KYC back then, right?
Yeah.
So
it was very different.
And they did ping you because you got downgraded to a level B because they hadn't paid some salaries or something. Remember that?
No,
Yeah. Cost you money.
wouldn't have cost me money.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
How much did it cost me?
I don't know.
Obviously
I'm sure at the time.
not a memorable amount of money.
But Mark, you said like a lot of real estate companies fail in Dubai, even in this market.
Yeah, I think, look, it's a competitive market, right? Like, are there a lot of transactions happening? Absolutely. Are there a lot of brokers that fail? It just works its way
Individuals,
up. Right? Individual brokers.
Yeah.
But if you've got individual brokers that are failing, there's also people going into the market. Somebody messaged me a few days ago talking about, said, congratulations on the success of your business. I did a bit of a 6-month post saying we've had quite a good period. And
Wasn't me.
it wasn't you. And they dropped me a little message saying it's great to hear of some success stories because this is more difficult than I anticipated. But the truth is, I look at everything in life and say, well, what's the likelihood of success based on the skill set and the knowledge that you've already got? And you only want to take risks on so many elements in my eyes. I'm not a chef, so I'm probably not going to set up a restaurant. I've never run hospitality, probably not the right place for me. But I do understand a thing or two about real estate brokerage. So I think people are setting up brokerages from either this will be good fun and Dubai's booming, or a place of I'm in a brokerage and I'm a good broker, so therefore I'll be able to run a real estate brokerage. But the skill sets are very different, right? The differences 100%. Of running a day-to-day operation.
Well, it's desk-bound versus not desk-bound.
Yeah, and you typically find the person that jumps ship is the one that doesn't want to be in the office, ironically.
Yeah.
So they're like, I don't want to be in their office. I'm now going to set up my own office.
Where I'm tied to my desk.
Everyone else to be in the office, but then say, I'm not in the office.
How do you see it, Mario? Because you obviously did.
You did tech, right? You went from real estate to now being a tech.
I totally agree. First of all, not every good agent can be a good entrepreneur. So you can be a good sales advisor, but maybe you cannot manage and handle a real estate company. That's why it's not easy. It's not easy to open a real estate company. It's not easy to hold a real estate company, and you have to calculate it because sometimes how it is, mostly are the agents, they made the first big deal. They say, now I'm doing my own real estate company. They take the biggest property finder account, the biggest Bayut, the most beautiful office and the best in Omniat building, showing off, renting Rolls Royces and whatever.
And then they're back in 6 months.
And then they understand, fuck. So, okay, commission, I have to wait 3 months. The first half I get after the 24%, the other after signing the SPA or 60 days. But the bills still are running and operating. The other agents are not selling and closing. And then they fail. They don't have this entrepreneurial mindset and calculating, okay, how I start and how I can grow successful a real estate.
Every time.
And how I can grow a real estate company successfully and have a little bit of money on site that even in the hot summer days, if the deals are not working very well, I can be quiet. And I guess the investors, they're feeling it. And this is the same like what I'm saying to an agent. If you're too pushy and you are on your last $1,000, the investor will feel it that you need money and he will not purchase from you. And I guess it's the same as to having and owning our own real estate company.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people are more intuitive than they think they are. You can get a feeling from someone if they're pushing too hard. You can get a feeling if they're doing this to line their own pockets or not. You know, I think that's actually a very good point. You know, if you are coming across too pushy and you're giving off that I need to make this sale or I'm screwed vibe, people pick up on it, whether they know they are or not.
So why did you think you were different? Because obviously you were being a broker, you could see all these guys starting their own business and making a mistake. You're looking inside yourself going like, I'm not like them.
I don't want to say I'm not like them, because I think everyone can hit the failure in Dubai. So it's not meaning because I am a good broker that I can hold all and the coverage of my other brokers and the costs. It's a lot of pressure. But I'm trying and starting to reduce the cost as much as possible. I guess I'm the only first real estate company who don't have an office. I prettily say I don't see it.
It must have an office, right?
It's useful, but I don't see it sometimes for useful, because I saw it in my previous company. The people, if the office was in Jumeirah and the people was living in downtown, they were stuck in traffic 1.5 hour coming, 1.5 hour going.
Oh, I'm with you. We have an office, but I've not been in it for 3 months.
Yes.
And I don't think many of my staff have either.
And then I started to make a contract with Regos Towers. They are in each areas, and all the agent can use the towers in each area. It means if someone have a viewing on Marina and he need an office, he go in the Regos in Marina. If you want to go to JVC in downtown to downtown. And because our system is so good and I can control and track everything, I don't take care if my agent is now in Nikki Beach and closing a deal, or if he's in DAFC or I don't know where on the beach. Why I need my agents in the office? I don't want to see any agent in my office.
No, 100%.
Yeah, so better investing this 250,000 dirham in leads.
Here's a question then. So if we look at the market, and we've agreed slightly earlier.
I don't know, but I want to know what you say before I say I've agreed to it.
Well, all right. So we say that I think it's fair that we've gone down our routes, the route of bringing in, 20 agents a week or a month and then throwing them through the machine. I don't believe is a model that stands the test of time.
No, but I'm sorry to interrupt. I will caveat the fact that has populated the UAE with brokers.
Correct.
Because they may have come for the first 3 months, they don't make a sale, they get binned, then they get taken in by another company that nurtures them a little bit more, gives them a little bit more training, and then they find their feet. So, sorry, carry on.
If we were to fast forward, something that I look around and say, does this make sense? And I think you'll probably know UK estate agency more than I will. I've never done estate agency in the UK, but your family background is that. In London, which is a population of 10 million,
8 during the day, 16 during the day, 8 at night.
There we go. Interesting fact. Didn't know that.
I think you made it up. Don't take it as gospel.
Google it. Facts.
We now have some really substantial brokerages in terms of headcount. Where do you see that going? Do you see, because everyone seems to now want to be the biggest in terms of headcount, and or a lot of people do, not everyone. Where does that head? And against the UK market or a London market or another market internationally, are there as many brokerages at the size that we have in Dubai and going to like a Dexter's in London? Or
so there's a company called, I think they're called Hearts, or Spicer McCall, one of them. But they're the biggest estate agency in the UK, but they have lots of different names like Felicity J. Lords, lots of them, Spicer's, Hearts, all of these guys. But I don't think they're the size of I think FAM is the biggest real estate company in Dubai, and that's 600 people. What's stopping everyone to get to 600 people? Labour is free.
Oh, I guess they are 1,100 now.
Huh?
Yeah,
yes, FAM is 1,100. Yeah.
Where's Firas? Let's call Firas.
Yeah.
What? I don't get it. I don't get how that's. Obviously, they're doing something right, but how does an agent find their feet in a mob of 1,000 people?
Well, listen, there's plenty of companies much bigger than that, doing other stuff. I mean, there's no reason why.
I mean, if you look across the pond, Douglas
worse.
Elliman, Remax, they're global companies, and they probably, I'm guessing, have about that many people.
Remax is a different model.
It's a franchise.
Yeah. But I mean, any kind of company, Indian Railway employs over 1 million people. I
don't know what that's got to do with the price of cheese, but fair enough.
Well, it's a lot of people, right? It doesn't mean that
Apple
the larger
employ a few.
you get. Yeah, well, that's the point. It doesn't mean that the larger you get, the more inefficient you are. Right? If you've got the right structure to build up, Mark's talking about having like sales managers, and that's the model in Abu Dhabi. We've got a couple of companies with 200 brokers, and the model is this team leader, set up where almost you're creating mini companies where you say a team leader and they hire their own people. Like you can have a team of up to 10, and you get a cut.
That's the US based way of doing things.
Yeah, and so you build it out. So there's no real reason, but I mean, obviously there's enough business in Dubai, and these guys now have scale, and they get into, because it's probably mostly off-plan stuff that these guys are doing. And once you are big, you do the most deals with the developer. It means you get preferential treatment, you get access to the VIP, you get early warning, you get deals, you get this, you get that. I mean, it makes sense to be much, much larger, because you get those benefits. And so you are probably going to have, I mean, in an ideal world, you'd have fewer larger, because then they'd be more the experts, and you wouldn't have so many kind of little shops.
Fewer larger companies. I don't understand. Sorry, say that bit again.
Fewer larger companies. Yeah, in most like efficient markets, you have a few large companies, who are doing it better than everyone else, and they.
I mean, how many have we got? So the big guys, Better Homes. I don't know how many Espas have got, but I'd say they're probably not the biggest. Allsop and Allsop, FAM. I guess they're probably the big guys.
Driven is
White and Co.
White and Co.
I mean, they're big, but they're not even close to Allsop and Allsop and
But
FAM.
AX Capital was as well in the prime time, 700 or 680 agents.
What are they now? Like 30?
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Look, I mean, there's a benefit of buying the market, which is what they do, right? These guys buy the market, which is, I mean, it's a business model. It's not a business model that any of us around here, what have you got? 50? Mm-hmm. 50 brokers, 30?
40.
12? 9. Like, we all have completely different business models. It's actually quite interesting when you actually think
very
about
interesting.
it.
Very interesting.
But I think, and then this is the case in Abu Dhabi, and I don't know if it is in Dubai, to do off plan, they scale. But if you're doing secondary market, you're smaller and more boutique and reputation driven.
Off plan is just, it's battery chicken, phone hammering. Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? And then you got secondary market, which is the purest form of real estate, to be honest with you. It's relationship building. It's getting to know your clients. You need numbers if you're going to be a battery farm of brokers, right? That's the only way it works. You don't get off plan companies with 12 brokers. I mean, maybe you do, but probably not very successful ones, I'm guessing. It's just a volume number.
Yeah, well, that's it. If you're cold calling, you need more fingers on the dial. And lots of these guys, like every broker will come in with maybe a couple of referrals in his back pocket, do those 2 deals. Then he doesn't do anything for 3 months, and they wave him off and get the next guy in. So I mean, that's the model of those big guys in Abu Dhabi, and they're all in the office all the time. They're controlled, they're monitored. How many calls they make, and all this kind of stuff. And that's the off-plan model. It doesn't work the same with secondary market, because you've got viewings, you've got relationships to build, you've got to manage the buyer and the seller, as opposed to just the developer side. It's just a different way of doing it, and people throw a lot of mud at that. But I think I would say Allsop and Allsop is still a secondary market kind of firm, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they only recently have set up a dedicated off-plan.
They've just set up the family office as well. Not the family office, the
Manson family.
What are they called? The luxury arm. It's called the private office. The private office.
Okay.
So
what's that when it's at home?
It's 2 people that I know very well that I hate. Hate Lindsay. I'm joking.
Is he Redstone?
I love Lindsay,
You've known her for a
but
long time.
I will always hate her with a passion, a burning passion. I'm joking, Lindsay. I'm joking. So look, when you get to big companies, you have to then diversify in terms of what you're doing. I think Driven predominantly do off plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is that. If you're watching or driving through downtown or Dubai, you're just seeing exclusive buildings Driven, FAM properties. That's it. Not just Driven and FAM. I guess they are the head-and-head competitors.
Where's this?
They're, let's say, fighting against each other.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's a lot of projects. I was sitting now with one very interesting guy in GLT. He was needing help to construct a building. So I give him a contractor who can contract it, who made the Singapore airport and some stuff. But I said, look, if I give you this, you have to give me the building exclusive. He said, Mario, if I was knowing you 2 weeks before, he said I would do it, but I signed already the contract with Firas. So this is that fan properties driven. There are in each project. And
but that's okay. So that's again the point that Ben made.
Yes.
He has given it to a big company. You know, it's the same as what are they called? The Cheddi building on Sheikh Zayed Road that's just been launched. They've given that to not Landmark. They've given it to another company that's really well versed in selling off plan, but they're a big company, right? As smaller companies, we're never getting a sniff at, well, maybe you would because of the way you're set up, but we're never going to get a sniff at getting a full building for sale off plan because we're just not set up like that. The bigger companies have that additional wing.
Well, I mean, go off topic a little bit there, but you shouldn't. If you're trying to sell a building off plan like that, it's kind of stupid to give it to a company to sell through their own brokers. You want it to give it to someone who will work with all the brokers in the market, because then you're going to get better marketing. And so going down one of these big companies,
but that other big company, Knight Frank had it with the Royal Atlantis, and they went to the market. But Knight Frank with the name behind it. Saviles are doing these ones with Mr. C residents. Saviles is a big company, but they have to then work outside contracting.
Yeah, but they make it different. They go there, they put a check on the table, they say, here, okay, I give you 10% check, you give me 7% commission. They take the 7%, they go to the other. Why by MR? How many, let's say, real estate agents are the top one real estate agents? Because even the inventory will not get released to everyone, because there are preferred real estate companies who are top brokers there who get it exclusive. You know how many times I get heard from MR directly, go to this real estate company, you can buy with them. Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yes.
That's a thing?
Yes.
That's not a fair market.
Yes. Yes.
So then in terms
EMAR are signing up with real estate companies. Sorry to interrupt.
MR is, of course, there are real estate companies who get exclusive listings.
Get out of town. I did not know that.
Yes.
Huh. Anyway, fair enough.
So then, Mark, in terms of your business, like, do you see there's a cap on agents that you'd go to this many and not anymore?
$1 bajillion.
Yeah. How big a fam did we say?
1,001.
1,100. No, I think, look, my ethos on it is very different. I think what we're doing as well is it's a bit of a combination. We've got a Miami office as well. We've got the Dubai office, and my ethos is smaller teams work in terms of getting support. So if you want support, I think the three things that we focus on as a business are training, like how do you educate the team? What does that look like? We've got offline training in the office. We've got online training when you want it to digest when you're in the brokerage. Then second, it's support. Well, how do we give support? I know that I could not give support to the right people at the right time when I was running at full speed with a high-performing team at 40 to 45 brokers. I just can't do it. It doesn't matter how much I'm on the phone. I can't deliver the support.
But that means there's still no restriction on the amount of people that you get that you have, as long as you have the management support behind them. Right, so you could get to 500, 600, 1,000 brokers as long as you had the management support. But is there because obviously there is a financial remuneration for being a team leader. Is there a point where your business model just doesn't begin to work anymore because of the outgoing?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't believe so, but we're in business and we're doing things for the first time that we see right. And like Mario said, we're entrepreneurs. We're taking a risk. We're doing things. We could just go and get the salary job, and I could go and get a job with somebody else, and we all could do that. We've chosen to take a different route, and I think one of the main reasons I've wanted to do that was because decisions have been made in all of the businesses that I've worked with that have not been the way that I would have done it. And I'm not necessarily saying their way is wrong. I'm just saying I wouldn't have made that decision. And there's a bit of curiosity to say, what would that look like if I'd have made my decision? But at the end of the day, when somebody else is writing the checks, ultimately they've got to be the final decision holder. What we're doing now is effectively, what you said, Ben, it's mini companies within the company, and our managers are not forced to take anyone. Our managers are in a position where somebody comes into the business that likes what we're doing, that is interested in joining us, and it's a mutual agreement between two parties. Does the agent buy into that manager? And does the manager believe that they can provide?
Do you ever
and
have an
offer
agent come in
success?
and go, nope, not that guy. Got another one in terms of
Yeah,
managers?
absolutely.
Don't like him.
Well, and I don't necessarily think, look, some people just don't gel. It's, and
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine.
100%,
It's either areas, it's type of business that they're doing. And some people just aren't interested in supporting brand new brokers or earlier stage brokers. Some people are absolutely fantastic at it. Some people are really good at taking a broker that does 1.5 million to doing 3 million. And some people are, I can get you from you don't know how to do the job to I can get you affording to live in Dubai. So I just think there's different skill sets within a business. And, some people we've got are relatively new into management. They're only ready to take on, almost a mentorship program of 2 or 3 people and take them alongside with them and say, we've got this thing that we know that the route into the Dubai market for a lot of new agents is I'll go and learn how to do rentals, then I'll move into the sales.
The rentals trap.
Some people get stuck, and a lot of businesses you end up getting stuck. Well, if you're a rental agent in Dubai and you're stuck in your business, is there someone that can take you to the next level? There's a lot of scenarios where it's, well, you're really good at that, let's keep you there because that makes loads of sense and you're going to be hard to replace. And I just think there's a place and a time for different people, whether it's from a managerial level, but also there's this bizarre space where you want somebody that you've got a lot of managers in Dubai that don't know how to do the job. Right.
In what respect?
In terms of they have not done the role.
They've never brokered.
Maybe they've brokered, but not successfully. Right. They've not been what you would class as you were a good broker. Can I learn
Were
from
you a good broker, Mark?
I believe so.
You made enough money out of it.
Do you think so?
But this is
Do I think you're a good broker? Mate, I brokered next to you 15 years ago for about 6 months, 8 months. So no, I don't think you are, no.
But I guess there is as well no education for it.
I'll say this: I was a shipbroker.
How do you mean? Yes, you were definitely a shipbroker. What do you mean about the education?
There is no education for brokers who's coming to the Dubai market.
Well, that's what he's saying, is that his company does that.
Exactly, that's what I mean. What is doing 80% of the real estate brokers? The new one is coming. If they see the CEO, they can be lucky because the CEO even don't have time to employ someone.
Yeah.
And then here, this is the database, call, do whatever you want. There's no sales training.
Yeah.
And I guess there we have to grab it and change it a little bit. Even if you start to apply for your BRN number, you're doing an online session. ChatGPT can answer you all that questions. So you have to make sure that the regulation is that much that hey, I can put the broker into the market, because a broker is meaning having a lot of responsibility. Yeah. Someone is coming, maybe saved his whole life 2 million euros, and then someone is coming who made the PRN number by JetGPT, is selling him Azizi because it's paying the highest commission, and this guy is losing his 2 million what he was working the last 6 years.
Well, that's an ethical question, isn't it? Right.
And also, it could be a lack of training, because if you don't know the projects, you just give me okay, this one looks fine.
So then the next question is, do we have too many brokers? I mean, we would all love to know the answer to that question, because in varying different sizes, we all have real estate companies. Is 1,001 brokers enough for a population of 3.5 million people?
I mean, you've said it yourself, it's free labour, right? The problem
But
is
should there be a restriction on it?
Too easy to employ.
That's the point. And you can employ anyone. You don't have to have necessarily any educational background. You don't have to pass an IQ test, right? You don't have to.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't in the UK either.
No, what I'm saying is that does there need to be a higher barrier to entry?
I'm going to challenge that a bit and say, I mean, although there are typically in most real estate brokerages no salaries, the cost is still there. I break things down into cost per lead. We generate leads on Property Finder. Our Property Finder account is not cheap.
Well, you're 65 dirhams a lead?
65 dirhams a lead. No, it'll be more than that. But when we come into that, you generate something, let's say it was 65 dirhams a lead, they generate 100 leads. Still spent 6.5 grand. You've still got office space. People want to be in prime locations. I can promise you, office space is not cheap.
Do you want to be in a prime location, really? I mean, going back to what Mario said, you don't really want your agents in the office.
But people still do want a nice work environment.
Sure, but you don't have to be in, a Renko Tower or anywhere fancy like that. You could be in El Cos.
You could.
Right? You could have a nice office in El Cos where people can just turn up, good coffee, nice barista, good music, nice place for everybody to work. Yeah. You don't have to have like that.
Yeah.
Where's your office, Mark? Renko Tower. That was what I said.
But I also think it depends on the model you're setting up, right? I just think I agree. We could move to a different location. I like our location because I live on the Palm, and it's very handy between that and playing golf at Emirates Golf Club with you. But I think if we go back into the training element, we're really pushing on online training, online education.
I send all of the guys who want to get into the market who come to me. I always send them to you.
Yeah,
always.
Appreciate that.
Welcome, mate.
Keep them coming. Some people do think an office is important. Some people think it has more importance than.
So sorry, just talking about that. Did you have a broker number in mind? Number of brokers?
Well, our model is to incubate and support other teams moving forward.
Incubate?
You're
like a chicken.
We do something called Powered By. Powered By, we have other businesses that work under our setup and under our brand, or under their own brand, but powered by the network.
That's what Sotheby's guy did, right?
No, so that's a US-based model where they do Douglas, so-and-so's team powered by Douglas Element, so-and-so's team powered by, whatever, Remax. So these are master brands, and then you have another small company underneath the master brand, and the master brand provide the CRMs, they provide, leads, data, all that kind of thing, access to the printing facilities for signboards and,
It takes 7% of gross or something like that.
Yeah, there's basically a revenue split that's applied to it, but typically what we've found is
franchising, isn't it?
No, I don't think it's not a franchise model in respects. I guess there's similarities. There's a lot of different small nuances with the different ways they can work, but ultimately we're heavily involved in how they grow and scale their business. There's a lot of people that have gone out there and they're kind of stuck in no man's land. Their cost per credit on Property Finder is astronomical because they're not buying with the economies of scale of a FAM or an ALSOP, right? So is there an opportunity for them to actually scale without just burning cash for a long period of time? We believe there's another way to do that, and that's using the knowledge that we've got, plugging into the broker network that we've got internally, plugging straight away into stock. We've got the powered buys that have come on with us already are doing business internally, because you speak to the majority of secondary market agents in the market, and one thing they say is, there are so many, I don't work with other agents. Well, it's not that they don't work with other agents.
That'll change when the market changes.
But the reason is what? Why do people say they don't trust them? And it's a pain in the arse. They get there and they've not qualified the agent, which is on them. They've not actually found out. They assume that because somebody says they're a real estate agent, that they must have qualified the buyer as well as they will do. They get to the property and they're like, oh, I've seen this, or I don't like the layout. And you're like, you've just, flown around Dubai. And the other one is trying to get the unit number. Somebody calling you up, can you give me the unit number? Right, now I found the property, I'm going to call the owner directly and try and cut you out the deal. That's why people don't want to work with agents. It's not that they actually don't want to do business. You proactively try and work with agents.
I do, but my demographic is slightly different.
Sales is sales, working with brokers, agents is agents.
You're not really going to get somebody who has $50 million to spend on a house or a home, an apartment, whatever, look on Property Finder or Debizzle or any of these portals. They're going to go to a broker that they know. My job is to know the brokers, right? Because I'm not really going to get much of a chance of getting a lead from any of my marketing.
Yeah.
So I have to work with other brokers. If I didn't work with other brokers, I'm relying solely on selling my own stock to the buyers that I have, and maybe I get 10 buyers a year. The chances of those 10 buyers a year buying my stock, very limited.
65 dirhams a lead.
Yeah. My cost per lead is probably somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000 dirhams, and that's no joke. It's ridiculous. But these guys,
you should be a powered buy. It could reduce your costs a lot.
There you go.
Yeah, but then I have to share commission with him, and also I would never have him as my boss.
Well, I know he sounds lovely.
He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah,
I know where a tie.
Yeah, boss material.
It's just to catch your lunch, mate. That's it.
Yeah, this is out the off-the-shelf CEO outfit.
Right. I mean, I think we've covered quite a lot there, guys. So if you want to buy off plan, Mario here is your man, and if you want training as a real estate agent, Mark here is your man. That's pretty much what we've covered this session, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, chaps, for coming in. We really appreciated your insight. I've been Barney from Dubai.
Ben from Abu Dhabi.
Mark from Dubai.
Mario from Dubai.
There we go. Thanks, guys. See you again.